Hello, Catherine Foley is my name, and I'm going to read from my book Beyond the Breakwater today, and the chapter today is chapter 28, My Aunts. My two aunts, Sheila and Gilla, often sat at our fireplace, sipping tea delicately from china cups. They would take long draws from their cigarettes and regale us with anecdotes and conversation, one story sparking off another. They told us stories of long ago, of family escapades in Ferrybank where they grew up, of old beaux and dances, of summer nights at the traditional Céilí dances in Ring where they spent their holidays, and other stories that had stayed with them over the years. They used to tell us stories both about and against themselves, about trips they'd made to Rome or people they'd met in Lourdes. Once in a while, one of them would excuse herself to spend a penny, as they euphemistically described a trip to the bathroom. In the meantime, the other aunt would carry on with the anecdotes, not missing a beat. We loved to sit around the fire, listening to them, entranced by their conversation and their turn of phrase. And they loved to hold court. The room would fill with smoke. The taste of tannin hung in the air from the tea, and the walls were warm to the touch. Once Sheila had finished, Gilla would take up the thread, and their talk of days gone by would continue. When they got up to go, we'd all heave ourselves up, wishing they didn't have to leave, and we'd accompany them outside to their car, a sporty little coupe. My aunts were authorities on everything. I usually sat on the hearth, as close to the heat as possible, like a cat purring, with my knees under my chin, listening intently to them. My two sisters usually sat as close to them as possible also, on the mat or on the arm of a chair. We drew in close to listen and egg them on, ready to provide the required "and what happened then?" when the moment demanded it. They could just as easily comment on what we wore or ask how we were doing at school, but such was our addiction to their company that we were prepared to take that risk and put up with such inquisitions. Perhaps it was their certainty about everything that we liked. There were no half measures or shades of grey. They had rules, and there were no prevarications or hesitations. As long as they stayed by the fire drinking tea, talking to us, lecturing us even, we'd listen, waiting to jump in order to replenish their tea and keep the stories going. Their arrival heralded a break from the daily routine. It was like that the day I made the fatal mistake of letting it slip that I was not going across to the nightly Céilí in the local hall. They were not at all pleased with this, but I was in my mid-teens at the time and not inclined to attend these dances of public embarrassment and bewilderment. "Would you like another hot drop?" I asked them, hoping to distract them from my non-appearances at the Céilí. Sheila held out her cup, like a queen who was happy to indulge me. She waited while I poured. It acted as a pause in the dramatic yarn she was in the midst of telling. We all waited quietly, hanging on her every word and exhalation of smoke. Despite my best efforts, they turned their attention away from their story. The two of them eyed one another across the mat. Sheila's eyes grew round and her eyebrows raised a fraction. Gilla sucked in her lips in disapproval. "He won't come down the chimney to you, you know," Auntie Sheila declared, her face scowling at the terrible fate that was in store for me should such a calamity as not going to the Céilí become a regular occurrence. While she began to recount a story of moonlit nights on the way home from the Céilí with boys they knew, I looked dolefully at the chimney in front of me and sheepishly agreed to go to the Céilí from then on. Their visits are vignettes in my mind. I've clear memories of the two of them, sitting in the prime seats at either side of the fireside, regaling us with their wit and their wisdom, the room full of their presence. Today we still sit around the fire, talking about the garden, about work, about shopping, and whatever news is doing the rounds. We huddle around the fire and enjoy the shelter the house provides from the icy breeze outside. We are filled with the sense that this room has been at the centre of our lives for decades. We've spent evenings and nights putting more coal on the fire, plumping up the cushions and making ourselves comfortable. And often, when we think back, our circle resonates again with those conversations and oft-told stories, and the fireside is peopled with vivid memories of my two aunts with their cups of tea and their cigarettes held daintily aloft. So that's all for today. Talk to you again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.